you're gonna if you're gonna do it, you might as well do it. But if you're gonna stay in the job, what you need to do is like have the mindset: I'm gonna work my 9 to 5, come home, eat, take an hour off, and then do my 6 to 12, and do that until you feel comfortable making that jump. I've seen people do it both ways and be successful both ways. Just know if you make that jump, you have to go treat it like full time because you don't have that security of the job.
Recording on the same day, editing on the same day, and posting on the same day. It was like exhausting, but I still made a commitment to do that. There are days that I was just like, I am so tired, and I'll get up, do my video, post it, and then just like, crash it. But that was one of my commitments. Social media just really kind of, I'm a big believer that, if you want to do something, you just need to come with a bang.
We are back, guys. We got a great podcast here today. 10 years in the tech industry, guys. Then the pandemic happened. The mindset was broken. And now the mindset was fixed, as we now have a successful entrepreneur on the call today. We have Amanda Aguiar on here talking about how she was kind of that back and forth mindset of, do you leave the 9 to 5 job and go full time in business, in our case, real estate, or do you kind of stay in that position? And she's battled with a broken mindset, just like many of us in the business. And she's going to talk about how she fixed that, how she's worked on that. And now she's super successful, growing a large organization here with EXP and the Wolfpack. She's a top production agent. She's crushing it for the beginning of the year. She's got great momentum. She's using social media heavily, Instagram and YouTube. I want to get Amanda on here, guys, so she can tell you her story. But Amanda, thank you for sharing time here today. But how did you go from the tech industry to the pandemic and mess up your mind like a lot of people did, and then decide you wanted to get into real estate? And now you're here crushing it and starting the year off great, and build momentum and setting a good pace for everybody else to follow on. So thank you for coming on the show. I'd love to hear your story.
Thank you so much for having me here, Connor. It's definitely an honor to have the opportunity to share my story and hopefully inspire some people that are watching this video, because it's never perfect, right? And it wasn't perfect for me either. As you shared, been working on the tech industry for a long time, have, big tech industry as my clients, and, big teams that I was managing. And through the pandemic, it was just like really contemplating what was next for me. I love project management, and that's where I built, my career. And I thought that that's what I was going to do forever. But I was just feeling stuck and just thinking what I was going to do. And then I had some local friends in here that kind of trying to tell me about real estate. I mean, I already had at the time purchased, a condo, which was my first, home ever about 8 years ago. And then I was now on my second home, and then, kind of having the investment part of it and renting out the condo. But real estate as a job, as a living financing, that was never something that was crossing my mind. I always like to be very, social and local with my community. So they thought like, this is just like perfect for you. So after contemplating for a while, I probably didn't make a decision for like a year or two. So it was kind of towards a little bit on the pandemic. I got my, through the courses, and then, got my real estate license. I was definitely super excited. So I think that energy was meeting me, because I got clients from like posting on Facebook that I never met before. And I was like brand new agent, right? So it was not even like the experience of knowing what I was doing, but it was the energy that I wanted to help. So in 4 months, I closed like, 4 or 5 deals. So that momentum, it was just like absolutely insane for me, because I was still having a full-time job. I did not make the full transition because I wasn't sure if real estate was for me. So I wanted to test the waters first. But one decision that I did make from day one was that if I was going to try real estate, I was going to act as full-time. So I know it maybe doesn't make sense, because I still had a full-time job, but any spare moments that I had from my full-time job between meetings, evenings, weekends, I was putting time on real estate, because I wanted to feel and see if that was something for me. And I made the commitment that I was going to do that at least for a year. So I was not going to give up if the first month wasn't good. I was going to do for a year and then decide if I was going to continue or not. But I would say probably a month in, I already knew this was for me. But it's been a journey of learning about, the industry, of, my production, growing a team and supporting agents, across the country, and in Canada. So a lot of opportunities have come from this that I'm super grateful. And now with my exit plan from my, 9 to 5 job into, real estate full time.
Yeah, I remember when you came on the team, it seemed like you came out of nowhere, and all of a sudden, I was like, "Who's the man?" And she's doing deals left and right. Started building agents. I remember Sean Scott were all pumped up. So, yeah, I mean, you've really run fast, and that's the way to do it. I used to tell people, I've been saying this for years, like if you're in a job, you got two options: taper it out, meaning kind of one foot in, one foot out, and transition it out. Once you feel you're comfortable over here, you just make that plunge. But
Yeah.
if you're gonna do it, you might as well do it. But if you're gonna stay in the job, what you need to do is like have the mindset: I'm gonna work my 9 to 5, come home, eat, take an hour off, and then do my 6 to 12, and do that until you feel comfortable making that jump. I've seen people do it both ways and be successful both ways. Just know if you make that jump, you have to go treat it like full time because you don't have that security of the job. So really, it's to each their own. But I've seen that decision made in different ways. But I think a lot of entrepreneurs are kind of trapped in a job like a caterpillar trapped in a cocoon. They always know that they're going to become a butterfly at some point, and they got to bust out of it. But it's just when. And so it sounds like you're busting out of that thing right now. So
Yeah.
I know you started this year off with some incredible momentum. And so I know you're doing some crazy challenges and things like that. We just had Harv on here. And you're doing like what, 100 listings in 100 days, and you've already started the
100
year
open
with
houses in 100
100
days.
open houses. Yeah, my bad. Sorry.
No, it's
Yeah.
okay.
So
I mean, I already, it just on that challenge itself, I was just like, if I get one home under contract, the challenge, it's a big win for me. And then on my 5th open house, I already did that. So I'm very excited for the other 95.
yeah, I'm curious to see how it plays out. I hope to see a lot of you guys make it through that. Anytime you put that much energy into the world, there has to be a reciprocating force come back, and the manifestation comes behind it. And so just shoot for that activity goal. Remember, we talk on calls before, you have results oriented goals or activity goals. This would be an activity goal, which is
Yep.
don't worry about if you get deals or not, or clients or not. Just worry about hitting the 100 open houses. And in the midst of hitting those activity goals, the results goals have to happen. Most people are so concerned with the results, and they'll do 2, 3, or 4, and they won't get a deal, and it overwhelms them because the results are low, and then it pulls them away from keeping that activity going, and then they break all that momentum and nothing happens. But well, that's interesting that you guys are doing that. I found that out just a couple of days ago, but that's pretty cool. So how did you just, like when you got in here, you started just posting on social? So maybe give an idea. This is kind of for the mindset of some of the individuals trying to transition into real estate right now or brand new. How did your kind of first 30, 60, 90 days look? You started posting on Facebook, you just started reaching out to people. Kind of give an idea of how you started your career, just so maybe they can kind of see their story and your story and kind of follow in your footsteps.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I know time is very limited, right? When you already have another job. But as kind of you say, like, I started with a 90-day plan, right? Like, what are the activities I'm going to do and stick to it, even if I had a result or not. So one of them was posting on Instagram. So at the time, I didn't have a plan. I didn't know what I was posting. I was just like, spending a little bit of time on Instagram and watching what other people are doing and just repeating the funniest things, nonsense sometimes type of videos. But I just made a commitment that I just needed to post, at least, 4 to 5 times a week. So, but at that time, with what I know today, it made it a lot easier for new agents. But when I started, I was just like, recording on the same day, editing on the same day, and posting on the same day. It was like exhausting, but I still made a commitment to do that. There are days that I was just like, I am so tired, and I'll get up, do my video, post it, and then just like, crash it. But that was one of my commitments. Social media just really kind of, I'm a big believer that, if you want to do something, you just need to come with a bang. You need to be loud. You need, people need to hear from you. I did not need that pep talk of like, don't be a secret agent. I was not here to be a secret agent. And then the other one was really like, sphere of influence. At the time, I didn't think about doing videos. I did do that like a year later, but I literally texted everybody on my cell phone from A to Z, people that I didn't remember how I met them. I created one little blurb introducing, how excited I was about getting to the industry. And I already had to create it, a link from my Instagram, a link from my YouTube, and just like a contact link. And so I added that same message. And I speak Portuguese, so I did one in Portuguese, one in English. So as I knew who, the background of that contact, I just texted them. And it's not like, I had over 1,000 people on my phone. So it took me probably like a month and a half to get through the list.
Yeah.
Every day I would just sit on, like you're watching a movie. Instead of just watching a movie, I'm like, sending text messages to people. Some people reply, other people wouldn't. So I didn't get offended with people's response. My whole concept is just like, I want to be known. I want people to know what I do. And that was, how I got from posting on Facebook groups, again, introducing myself. And I got leads from there from people that I never met before, from doing videos and putting property videos or posts of new listings. I was getting people like, oh, I love this home. And then the conversation will go from there, and then they'll get pre-approved the next week. So those type of content, it's still the ones that I feel like capture a lot of the clients or interest. It's them seeing. I do a lot of talking videos, but I would say like the ones that actually capture them, it's the ones that I post of like new listings or open houses that I'm doing or property tours, because they start imagining themselves in those homes or in that kitchen, something that they saw. And all I need is just for them to make a comment. I love that wall. I love that color. And then from there, you just have a chance of having a client in the next week or next couple of months and kind of go from there.
Yeah, it's very so simple, but so profound. What you're doing when you started out, which is just 1,000 people just going out there searching for data. So every single time you text someone with an approach, you send a long message, a short message, a different message. You're getting data. You can see which ones they respond to, which ones they blow you off. You get to see how people. And this is all you can do, guys, in business. You can only read so many books. You can only watch so many podcasts. You just have to start taking action. You hear that saying; it's kind of cliche. And then wait for data to come in and adjust off of it. And then as you adjust and tweak, you're going to get a lot of rejection, a lot of, no responses, and then something works. And you go, wow, that actually, that kind of worked a little bit. How do I recreate it? How do I replicate it? How do I scale it? And then you test it again. And if it was like a fluke or it's just a one-off, then it's not something that can be scaled. And you go back to the trial and error area. You just try and gather data as fast as you can. And the faster you guys go out there and fail, you hear that saying as well. Really what you're doing is you're acquiring more data. And the more condensed the data and the shorter time range that you have, meaning, so you work 2 hours a day, 2 hours a day, 2 hours a day, as compared to working 6 hours at one time, you're seeing all that data come in at one moment. So you can identify patterns, and pattern recognition is much more important than most people think about when it comes to how you build a business, because the only way we know what to do in the future is to study the patterns of the past. In risk-taking nature of business, we need to make sure that we're not putting ourselves at too big a risk, and we study the past to avoid risk in the future. So I think what you did was why you got a big jump off the ground. And I think a lot of people like to overeducate. They like to kind of, sit there and read books and not take action. But guys, you should be texting every single person on your phone. You should be going to every local networking event that you can, meeting as many people as you can. You should be messaging everybody in your social media following. And if they're not responding, like Facebook, get them out of there. Replace it with someone that will interact with you. And but that's, I'm proud of you for starting out in 2 years and get to where you got to. It's not easy. And so what were some of the mental struggles that you had, like that you're probably not expecting, like when you first got going? Anything you weren't expecting coming from a 9-to-5 job into the business world that you kind of had to, were like, well, this is it's not what I was thinking?
No, I would say one of the things, not necessarily related to the job yet, it was just a relationship, right? Like, as I said earlier, like I know a lot of people in the community. I have as you can say, a huge friend group or something like that. But when I was posting it, not everybody was actually very supportive. I had to quickly brush it off some of those comments, not only comments on my page or private, sometimes even on my face, like, you're posting too much, like you're always on my feed. And I was just like, I knew, like, you're not my client, and it's okay. And you can unfollow me, which I say a couple of times. So I have to say, in the last 2 years now, my friends group have changed a lot, right? From friends that, I don't even know if I can say friends, or I would say like, sometimes people are in your life for a lifetime and sometimes just for a season. So some of these people
Right.
are just for a season,
Right.
because they couldn't keep up. My vision was, it's for me, it was just, it didn't fit their lifestyle anymore. Right. So that was something that I felt like I had to learn a lot, because I thought, in the other hand, I feel like, if you're a friend of mine and you have a business, I have nothing to do but to support you. People send me all the time, can you post it? Can you repost this on your page? Can you tag me? And I'm like, absolutely, because it costs me nothing. And I can do that for you. And I think because I am like that, I thought people would be like that. And
Right.
not necessarily. So I was disappointed. I had, moments. I had very close friends purchase, homes with other real estate agents that they actually did not even know, which it was not like, they picked me over another friend. No, like it was like blank out, like just someone else that they did not know. So I had those moments that I had to kind of process the emotion, of just like trying to understand why they didn't work with me. And I mean, to some degree, some of them I asked, and others I was just like, I'm not even gonna bother. It's okay. It's a big decision. So if they decided to go with someone else, it's okay. And I think as far as one now talking about like, having a 9 to 5 job and then going, now you have a business. And I think that's the biggest mindset, that I think, sometimes it can be misunderstood, is that you're not coming into a business that people are going to tell you what to do. I mean, you're going to have ideas and suggestions and things that are working. By the end of the day, you are your own boss. You're the one managing your time and the activities you're going to do, the decisions that needs to be done. And I think, the mindset shift from you get so used to, unless maybe you're in a leadership position, but you get so used to just showing up 9 a.m. and someone telling you what you need to do. And then you sit on that desk or you make that phone call. And then in here, you would think like, wow, you would have spent 8 hours a day working for someone else's business, but you won't do that for your own. Like I had to have those even conversations with myself, and as I was growing my own team, having those conversations, just like, the intensity that you're putting for someone else to make money, why you're not doing that for yourself. And that's why
Yep.
I had made the decision from the beginning that, I was going to be as intense as I could, possibly could with the time available. Otherwise I would have not know if real estate was for me. If I just tried to just tap a little bit, just put one finger, and if it works, I would have never have made the decision that I know that this is what I want to do. I know that this is my next career, through retirement. And retirement never looks so close, like now.
Well, that's a good message to bring, especially for younger entrepreneurs. We call that peer and family sabotage. And what happens is when
Oh,
you have friends and family around you, and it's been the same kind of pattern, let's say for decades, and you all were working jobs, and everybody kind of in the same kind of flow of life, and all of a sudden, one person, it could be you yourself, or it could be someone in your family. When someone decides, "Hey, I'm gonna make a radical change," and they try to step outside the box and go against that kind of flow or pattern, it
yeah.
makes everybody else feel uncomfortable, and it's also makes them feel like, what am I doing with my life? And they're never going to say it. And sometimes I don't even think they'll admit it to themselves, but unconsciously, they don't want you to succeed, because then that either means that they have to go take that risk to follow in footstep, or it's going to make the mirror on themselves look too aggressive as far as what they don't want to see, which is Amanda took off and became successful. I'm still here. What does that say about me? So
Yeah.
unconsciously, a lot of times they do self sabotage you. Now, very common, you have to change your friendship and your peer group. I had to, and then you get into this little window of time. I think they call it no man's land is the term for it, where you say you had a number of friends, all of a sudden you make a radical change in the way you're operating in life. Let's say you're a heroin addict, right? This is like a really intense example, and then you decide
Yeah.
to get sober. Well, now you got this window of time where you don't have any friends because your entire peer group, and you're in that no man's land. You're all alone. And that's the riskiest spot for you guys as an entrepreneur or anybody in life that's moving into this window, because the familiarity, the comfort, the understanding is gone. And it's tougher to move forward by yourself than it is to retreat and go back to that peer group and just go start doing drugs again, or go back to a 9 to 5 job. So as you guys
Absolutely.
go along this journey, I want you to know and prepare for this. What she's saying is the real deal. You will have to see a change in the peer group that you're in, most likely, and you're going to hit a lonely window. And that's where you have to stand up and say, no, I believe in myself. I believe in my future. I believe in the goals I'm chasing. and I'm staying convicted on this path. And no matter what happens, I'm going to continue on it until I get it. And then what happens is the world or God, however you want to look at it, puts the right people in in place, and that no man's land starts to fill itself back up with the new environment, the new group of people. And that's when you have a new life. And that's really, if people can't go through that transition window, they start a lot of times to jump out of the box and then they get pulled right back in, and they can do that for years or decades. But so I commend you on that for fighting through that.
Well, I just wanted
But
to add, because what you just said there, as far as like, the right people will just rise up. And I feel like that's what the Wolf Pack has been like. Your calls every Monday, it's a call that I do not want to miss. And I tell this to my agents, and when I don't see them there, I almost want to scream at them because they don't know the value. It's not I mean, like I've been, in business for so long. My degrees in business, so I already have some of those concepts, but I feel like I've learned so much about personal growth, business growth in the last almost 2 years now, participating on the calls on our masterminds, that I felt like I've learned in the last 5 years prior. And that was the reason why I felt like I needed something different in my career, because I was feeling stuck and not learning or growing anymore. And so on those days where, you're feeling a little low, I have to say, like, I crave even more so the calls, because it's been like a fuel to keep you going, so don't miss those
sure.
important calls. Invest on yourself for sure.
Yeah. So what they call it, show up to blow up. And it is the world that we live in, where people, they just don't show up. I mean, I go to the
Yeah.
gym sometimes on Saturday morning, and I'm not in like a massive city, but I'm a decent sized city. There's nobody in there, maybe one person. I'm like, man, like people think it's so hard to win in life, and it's not. You just show up.
Yeah.
Everybody else is not doing anything, And then it's not just so for one, you got to show up first, and then two, stay attentive and have the focused mind, paying attention, because that's the second step. A lot of people are showing up in this world. We now have moved, especially post pandemic, to a lot of Zoom calls. I mean, look at how we're communicating right
Mm-hmm.
now.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're on a mastermind call, and I've really had a problem myself personally with this, is I know I need to make a call, or I need to go training or a mastermind or something like that, and then I'm there, but my mind's not fully attentive, fully into the call. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like, why am I there in the first place? So I think that's a
Yeah.
big part of also a lot of people slowing of their progression down, which is they're on calls all the time, going to the trainings, going to the company, whatever, and their body's there, they're physically there, they're investing the time. Later in the night, when they look back, they're going to add that to how many hours they worked in their rationalization. Well, I was on the calls, but were they present? So there's a level of
Mm-hmm.
focus
True.
that you can work, or you can work, and you've taken a high level of intent, and that's why you're seeing the results that you are. And I can tell you, with the trajectory that you have, if you don't break that momentum at that 3, 4, 5 year pace, you're going to see a massive explosion. There's some really great things coming for you in your life. But let's talk
Thank
about some
you.
of the. So you're building a team as well. You're doing
Yeah.
really great with that. So how's that all going? And then you guys are mostly all using social media to generate leads. Is that primarily the main focus of the business, or kind of give me an idea of what a day looks like in your life as far
Mm-hmm.
as how you attack it?
Yeah, I would say that probably 80% of the team have connected through me through social media in one form or another. That's kind of how the conversation started. I think maybe one person, I think, on my group actually was someone that I knew in my previous, before real estate life. Everybody else came because either was a real estate event or it was on social media. So, with that said, it's always my suggestion for them, like when they come in, Wolfpack have an amazing onboarding, training and to get everybody going. I still like to I spend a lot of time with my team. So I will definitely, now I have like an actual weekly team meeting. Before I was just meeting with people individually. So that's something I have
Yeah.
transitioned as I'm growing. I have a team meeting. So those that, are interested to show up on that. And then there's not necessarily always an agenda. Sometimes just kind of talking about what is happening that week and being a support and accountability. And then other times, if there's topics that they want to learn more about our tools, so I just do a deep dive on that. I created a little bit of like a 6-week onboarding just to help them focus, because when you come in, there's so much information, a lot of good information, but where do you start? So just kind of a guide. I'm not going to say everybody go through that. Some agents already, know what they want to do, but it helps, especially with the newer agents coming through. Encourage them to obviously show up to all our mastermind calls that we have, because you have changed my business. So if it did that to me, I know it's going to do that for them, right? But as far as the activity goes, I feel like it's been a little bit of a mix of social media. I would say probably 80% of everybody it's using social media, and I'll say out of that 80, maybe half of them are really good, or getting good as far as doing videos. Some at least post something, it might be just a static, information and whatnot. But and they're still kind of getting through the humps of like doing videos. But everybody's trying to stay consistent with posting at least, a couple of times a week. And then I also created a little bit of a kickstart, like, 30 posts. Like, if you don't even know what to do, just plug your information, put your picture. There's some posts that you can do. It's generic enough that they can use, doesn't matter where they're located. And just kind of getting that template, like just change the color. If you have a color, do that. I'm a big about branding. So I do spend a little time and just kind of getting them wrap their mind around that a little bit. It's not a mandatory. EXP already provide a lot of materials, but if they want to be something set apart from the rest of the company, so just some ideas on that. And one-on-one calls. Sometimes when some agents I don't hear in a while, like, they probably hear from me like every other week. I send a little text, asking, what can I do? How can I help you this week? So I'm leveraging a little bit of like my, I have virtual assistants now that just kind of help me create newsletter that are for agent specific. So it has ideas of content of things that they can do. So I'm sending that out, to them as well, just as another touch point. We do have like our local team here in Washington. Sometimes we have our team meeting as well. So for my team that are in Washington, we participate on that. But the ones that are not, I host my Zoom call. Let's see what else that we're doing. Open houses, it's a big thing right now. We are on a challenge. Some of my agents that are even in other states, they've been doing that. So I would say hosting open houses, being on social media, and kind of, contacting their sphere of influence has been kind of the three main activities that the team is doing. Few people do cold calling, but it's like one or two, not as many.
Yeah. So guys, if you're watching this right now and you like Amanda and what she's saying, and you think you want to work with her, the brokerage that we work at is a global brokerage. So you can actually partner with her and get access to her calls and her systems and everything she's saying, and work with her, even if you live in a different state. So
Yep.
we'll have her contact information down there below. And if you want, I'll even meet you guys on Zoom and when we have that conversation together. But you're doing exactly what you need to be doing. If you want to build a large business of any type, especially like the type of business we're growing here with the override team building model, in the beginning, you have to start your own business. So you're going to bring in a handful of individuals. And at the time, you don't have this big organization. So you have the time to work one-on-one with each one of them. And what you need to be doing during this time is developing a relationship that will last long-term, but also figuring out who you want to work with closely long-term. Because let's say you bring in 10, you may only have one or two real good runners or people that you're going to work closely with. Now, as the business starts to scale, you're not going to have as much time to be working with every single person. So that's when you start doing what she's doing right now, which is leveraging your time and teaching in a group setting. So as you start to build your mastermind calls, your Facebook groups, as that group goes, what you're going to see is you're going to see leaders start to emerge, and they're going to start to grow their businesses. And then you're going to have kind of that overall group, which is where everybody meets. Then you're going to start, as you get big enough, conversational group, like how we have our mastermind call with leaders group, where you only work with the leaders. And then on your individual time, you're putting one-on-one time with the 3, 5, or 6 people that come through the business or whoever that are going to be like your direct one-to-one partners. So if you guys are trying to figure this out, she's kind of giving you the path that you need to go on. So attract a number of people individually, develop those strong relationships, lead to start a group mastermind or some type of group collective information training or something like that. This is where the culture is going to get built. And as leaders start to emerge, take the ones that are having success and building out and separate them and work together on higher level strategies that only apply when you have a big organization, that don't apply to when you don't have agents in your group, and then continue on working with those main leaders one-on-one And if you do that and plant those seeds and keep doing that and help your partners do that behind you, you're going to grow a really big business. And that's the key to duplication. But so yeah, you're doing great. So let's talk about Instagram here. Let's go on to, because you're doing a lot. Let's talk about like cadence of posts, how many you're posting now. Anything specific, like time of the day you think it works better to post? Like anything, any little quick nuggets you think? Because I know I get all sorts of questions on what's the best, when's the time, what's the right
Yeah.
length of content? Is it sub 15 seconds? Should I post 60 seconds? So like, give me an idea of what you've seen kind of work best for you.
Yeah, no, when I started, I was posting whenever I could post, right? So it was just random,
Yeah,
whenever worked. But
we all do.
so yeah, today I actually post, I feel like almost 3 times more than what I used to do, but it's organized. Like, it's not chaotic. It's not like I don't know when I'm gonna do what. So I post about twice a day. And then if I did a property tour, if I'm having an open houses, those extra posts are all on the top. But like on my calendar that there is a topic, something happening, it's twice a day. So I do about like 4, videos, reels, with me talking, and I get content from different blogs that I follow, it's around real estate, keeping current matters, like anything that is just talking about real estate. And I like what it's saying, or I think it's informative for the time being. So those are some of the video topics that I use. I actually love motivation. That's just been something that I always loved, even, being positive mindset and things like that.
Yeah.
So I try to be it's my Monday motivation. So it's not about real estate. It's not about agent attraction. It's none of those topics. It's just anything that can be relatable, hopefully, to anyone watching. And then here and there, I do throw something about like, joining my team, or about what we're doing on Wolfpack. If there's anything that it's, exciting, which is, there's always things, but I don't want to overboard because people just think I'm overly excited about, every call, which I am. But as far as timing goes, I post on my local time, 9 a.m. and noon. So I just kind of break down a little bit. That's kind of what is being the flow. I just feel like, there's a lot of people that already spend the morning time, on social media. That's just the world we live in. Every opportunity, you're like just kind of looking through it. And I like to post things about different towns around here. I'm trying to that's the informative part of things. Just like, what can you find out about these different towns that I am trying to nurture? So I have about like 5 to 6 different towns and cities around where I live. So there's a lot of content that goes around them, like activities, events, what do you want to learn about if you actually were to move into this, to this city. So I kind of, some of the content posts that I do on that. As far as the length of my videos, I'll say I have 30 seconds is usually, my midline. Sometimes there are some topics, very rare, but that you need a little bit more explanation, even though I'm still trying to keep it short. But I don't want it, I want the message to be clear. So they might be close to like 50 seconds, but I really try to not to do anything, above 60 seconds. That would be like the max of the max for short content. So that's kind of what I've been doing.
So are you utilizing any paid ads, or like on Instagram, or just all organic? What about
All
TikTok?
organic, yeah. Have not done anything paid ads on that. Like I at this point, because I'm doing a lot more content, I am investing that money in getting the VA support. But the
Yeah.
ideas is still come from me, like as I'm still very participated on it. Like I use Notion as my content management tool. So I go there, I all the videos, I'm the one that comes up with the ideas. And obviously record them, but then they just do the editing part for me today, and then they post it. But I still write the captions. So there's part of it that I'm still, involved with it. I don't know for how long, but that's where I'm at, today. I do get a little report of everything's happening every day. So I don't want it to be too far away from me.
Yep, you're right on the right journey. So like if you guys are starting out new, I did a very similar thing. I did everything and anything I could for like a year or two. And then what happens is what you probably ran into, which is I can't do it all on my own. you don't have the ability to hire a full-time employee at that moment. So a virtual assistant, or you're going to have to bring on, technologies, AI or something like that. But,
Hmm.
I started bringing on virtual assistants in the beginning. I was a little bit headache and I had to kind of figure out how to work with them. But now I've had some with me for it's been like 7 or 8 years. It's almost like my
Wow.
family now. And actually one of them, believe it or not, she's actually getting her license to come work with us here because this way she can help me with certain stuff. And, but yeah, I mean, a virtual assistant, guys, is the next step when you feel bottlenecked. Now, when people are like, well,
Hmm.
how do I know when I need to get one? You'll know you need to get one. Like you kind of just, you'll feel it. And then if and like it almost, I don't even almost, it's always a rationalization of the money spent, because if you can trade your time or trade your money to buy your time back, you can now have someone do the skill sets and tasks that you've already learned while you go acquire new ones and move on to the higher level ones. And then as that VA starts to get better at what they do, as you scale, you're going to bring on more VAs. And then what I did is I had my Kareen, as some of you guys work with the group, she kind of oversees all the other VAs. So I got a group of VAs that are operating up out of the Philippines, and they've been together with me forever. And so Kareen brought on Raymond and Kareen, and before I knew it, I've got like a whole business over there where they all work together out of the same property, and it's pretty cool. But it just shows how the world's so connected and so different than it used to be. But if you guys are not leveraging, social media, virtual assistants, AI, I just don't know how you can compete or get a business off the ground in anything you're doing. It's not real estate. You can take insurance. You can take starting a hair salon, or like a car wash or something like that. You can't do it on your own, and you're tight on dollars anytime you start a business. But well, what's your take on kind of how's the market right now? You started the year off pretty hot. Are you seeing? You think it's just because of the challenge you're doing, or you think you're starting to feel the activity really pick up in the market, or do you think it's specific to what you're doing?
Yeah, well, I think like, last year with the interest rate being high, it just spooked a lot of buyers, right? And even some of the sellers of like, wow, if I put my home, I'm not gonna get it sold. So, it's been a very almost like we were looking at the numbers on Monday, like 50% of like the homes listed, it that the decrease on it. Um, and I also think like people maybe hoped that the interest rate was going to drop really fast. I think they needed to just get on the mindset that we're never going to see a 2.5 rate probably ever again. And but I think they were in that illusion, oh, it's super high now, it's let me wait to get to get lower, but it was just actually increasing, right? So I think they this last year, homes obviously still got sold and whatnot, but they needed to adjust with the new, and they did
Yeah.
not know that this is the new. So now fast forward to 2024, there are so many buyers out there, and there's so many buyers with now them doing the open houses with no agent. It's like maybe they talked to someone last year, but it fell off because they were just not interested in paying a higher rate or something like that, and then that agent did not do a good job following up, because otherwise you will still be their agent right now. So that's just incredible. Even if the market is shifting, your follow up and staying connected with your clients is just like super important. But I think with that message sinking in that interest rate, this is the new norm, it might have some decrease through this year, as we've been hearing some from the Fed and from some economists, but it's not going to be a huge drop. So I think they're recalculating their life and seeing like, be more realistic with what they can afford. And they're getting back on the market for sure. So I'm very optimistic for this year.
Yeah, I am too. And it's perception and reality are always two different things. And so that's why you have the same external environment, and you take one entrepreneur here and one entrepreneur here. Some people don't see it as an issue, and some people are like, oh my gosh, the world's ending. And then you see the
Yeah.
results between the two parties at the end of the year. What we see and how we perceive it is how we act off it. And if you think it's bad, you're going to back off your energy levels. You're going to stop taking things. You're just like, well, I'm going to wait 6 months and I'll kind of, and then I'll take it serious, or I'll see what's going to happen. You guys just got to put the foot down and go. And because like, so like, I think it was Ricky Caruth. I saw something he posted on Instagram. He's like, every year there's going to be plenty of houses sold. Just go to work. Like, stop worrying about like what's happening around you. You're going to have great years and bad years in your career. You don't get to decide which years those are. Now, we all wish the good years are this year, next year, and the next year after that. But what if they're not? Like, if you're
Yeah.
in business for decades, you're going to have peak and trough years. You're going to have high performance years. You're going to have, I just can't wait till this year ends type of years, which is probably last year for everybody. All you control is your activity and your mindset. And so it's great that you're starting out with momentum, because especially even the industry, if the industry starts out with momentum, that's enough to cause the activity pickup to actually like fulfill a change in the industry. Like really, when you think about it, everybody believes things are changing. That's the macro sentiment, and then the energy
Mm-hmm.
falls behind it. So that's how waves of energy create cycles. But I know you got a meeting
Absolutely.
coming up here to actually go and meet with clients. So we got about a few minutes here. Maybe talk about the broken mindset and how important that is. Because obviously, you're doing great with fundamental skill sets, posting content, run open houses, but none of that
Mm-hmm.
matters unless you have the mindset behind it to get you up and push you out the door in the morning. So anything specific you do, obviously the mastermind calls we're plugging in, but anything you do, like reading books, certain
Mm-hmm.
podcasts you watch, anything that's helped you that you think could be shared to help some others that they kind of follow?
Yeah, no, it's been about a year now. I hired a life coach, and it was
Okay.
I. It's been a huge transformation for me, and I know not everybody sometimes can afford to do that. And it's nothing crazy that I'm paying. Sometimes you might, maybe not life coach, but even if you're doing therapist, whatever it might be, maybe therapist can even go through your insurance, but the life coach I am paying out of pocket. Um, but a lot of the mindset was that I've been working on, that I feel like I am in completely different space. It's realizing that some of the patterns of how you do life, it's not even because of today or whatever it's happening in your life. I feel like I had to go back on, like, La La Land when I was a little girl. What are the things
Yeah.
that happened in my life? And just kind of, realizing of those patterns, that the way I'm acting today, or I grew up being a performer, like, so that was a lot. I feel like there was a lot of layers that it peeled off from me this last year, of just like, knowing that it's not necessarily a good thing, or at least the motives, or what it's, helping me, um, do my work. And even though I had always the best intent, it's always just to help and support people. But if inside it was just it's an energy thing, right? So the law of attraction, I know you're huge talking about that. But I felt like, I had, it can happen anytime for anybody, but for me it was a huge shift. I felt like just starting January, it's almost kind of like that chapter 2023, it stayed there, and then now I have this brand new chapter in front of me, and what am I going to do with it? Life happened, things happens. I had deals that it was like under contract, that the client decided to pull it out. So you have all these emotions, which is real, that you have to work through it. But it's just kind of like, it's going to be the next client, or it's going to be the next house,
Yeah.
and you just kind of have to push through it. I love Ed Milet. He's like one of my favorite. So I
Yeah.
listen to a lot of his podcasts. An app that I actually got from EXPCon October of last year was Growth Day. And I have only great things to talk about it. I listen to it every day, and it's been amazing. So just think about that growth. You need to be investing in yourself. Don't go
Yep.
pay for all the calls and everything like that, because there's so many things already available. But it's a combination of working on your mindset and taking actions, which you kind of touched on that.
Yeah. So life, when you think about it, especially adult life, is pretty much trying to figure out how to get our minds straight from all the things we did to mess ourselves up when we're kids. When you really think
Yeah,
about it,
it
but
really
you
is.
can't really, yeah, until you really know who you are and what you are, and how to look at yourself and look at life. It's really hard to clear the blockage of the manifestation or creation energy. And so think about, like, if you don't have the things in your life that you want, you're not in the right frequency or the right mindset to attract it.
Hmm.
And it's kind of like a clogged drain or something like that. Like your sink stays clogged up, that energy can't pull through. But then you pour that, right, you know, whatever it is, like liquid in there, it's going to break that blockage. And as soon as that blockage clear, that energy can fly through. And that's when all the attraction comes in. All of a sudden,
Yeah.
everything starts happening. All of a sudden, this person came out of nowhere and is like, how did this even happen? Or this opportunity just pops up. So you got to work on this. You need to be the one to go out there and actively find whatever it is in your life to clear out, so that energy can flow forward and create. But that's usually the baggage that we carry from past relationships, past failures, past successes, sometimes that we doubt we'll ever have the ability to achieve at that level something in the future as good as what we had in the past. But it's
Very
a pretty good
true.
call. I'm thinking about getting a life coach, maybe look into that. Have someone look in from the
It's
outside
been
because we can only see
amazing.
our swing.
I mean,
But
I
well,
feel like you could be a life coach. I feel like I get a session every Monday.
yeah. Well, I try to be. The only thing we can do is learn the lesson ourselves and pass it down generations after generation. But even we sometimes when we think we know a lot, we stop trying to grow and learn, and sometimes we need a third party looking in. And I learn stuff from people that have no skill sets, they're brand new, they're not
Yeah.
even business. Like, you can learn from anybody and everybody, and you really have to drop the arrogance sometimes, thinking like I'm great at a sport or great at this or that, because it shuts off the ability to acquire new information, because you think I got it, I know everything. And this is where people get kind of caught. You hear the saying, like a golfer get caught in the same swing, they never change their swing. And people, but the problem is, if you get caught in the same patterns and habits and you're not constantly evolving as an entrepreneur, the world's not stopping around you, the next generation's
Mhm.
coming up. So think about if you conquered social media, but then you just stopped when AI came out, and we're like, who cares? You're
Yeah.
3 to 5 years away from having some weeding out of the industry, right? But well, I'm excited to see what you do over coming years. I know a few people
Thank
probably want to
you.
reach out to you. So we're going to put all your contact information, guys, down below here in the description. Go check out her Instagram. Go check out her YouTube channel. And if you want to reach out to Amanda and you want me to be on that call, I can hop on it. But it's good to get aligned with people with the right energy, the right mindset, and who's making things happen. And that's what she's doing right now. So I know you got to get your call. So we'll pop off, see the time up. But thank you, Amanda, for coming on here. And I'll see you on the
Thank you.
mastermind
Thank you so
calls.
much.
And you
Yay.
have, yeah.
Appreciate it.
Get blessed day, and congrats on all that you're having happen for you. And let's make this the best 2024 that we could have.
Thank you. It will be.
All right. Well, we'll see you guys on the next one.